The first part is introduction. For research background, tourism is one of Malaysia's biggest sector for employment, making up a quarter of all employment. We explore the impact of the tourism industry on the employment rates in Malaysia in order to fully harness the potential of tourism as an employment generator. And for variable selection, we divide the impact of tourism into 4 parts, namely tourism receipts, tourism expenditure, tourist numbers, and foreign direct investment, to analyze the impact of the 4 on Malaysia's employment rate. We have 4 research objectives. First is to investigate the relationship between tourism receipts and employment rates in Malaysia. Second is to evaluate the relationship between tourism expenditures and employment rates in Malaysia. Third is to examine the relationship between tourism arrivals and employment rates in Malaysia. And the last one is to examine the relationship between foreign direct investment and employment rates in Malaysia. Research method. First one is data collection. Secondary quantitative data will be collected from reliable sources, such as the World Bank, Department of Statistics Malaysia. And the second is data analysis. The data will be analyzed using statistical software to generate descriptive statistics, such as frequencies, percentages, and averages. And the last one is research significance. Theoretical significance is to provide recommendations and strategies to enhance the employment generation capacity of the tourism industry. And practical significance is in order to effectively strategize and implement initiatives that provide sustainable livelihoods for the Malaysian population.
This part is about the literature review. First is research focus and gap. It highlights the importance of understanding the impact of the Malaysia tourism industry on employment rates, and it mentions the existing research gap regarding the need for more comprehensive research on this specific impact. The next is about addressing research gaps. It emphasizes the need for future research on the position of the tourism industry in the Malaysia employment market. A reference Giovanni Migorio and the call for more empirical research on tourism development model encourage exploration of the industrial contribution to different types of employment, suggest using practical cases to evaluate the effectiveness and sustainability of different tourism development model. The last is about guiding the research framework. First is explore the correlation between tourism activities and economic growth. The next is highlight the positive role of tourist expenditure, GPA growth, and tourism income in contributing to overall economic development. Besides, it discusses the relationship between the comprehensive tourism development model and employment in the Malaysia tourism industry. The next is introduce the research on the pooling efforts of comparative adventure and overall economic growth, emphasize the need for further investigation into its impact on employment rates.
So the next is Chapter 3, the methodology. In this study, the data is from the World Bank. Dependent variable is employment rate in Malaysia. Independent variables are tourism revenue, tourism expenditure, tourist arrivals, and foreign direct investment. And our study encompasses the period from 2013 to 2020. And the right table is the list of variables and their definitions. There are the abbreviations ER, TR, TE, TA, and FDI. The next is the hypothesis. And in our study, we have formulated 4 hypotheses that aim to provide insight into the relationship between the tourism sector and employment rates. And there is a positive association between tourism receipts, tourism expenditure, tourist arrivals, and foreign direct investment and the employment rate. And about the model, this is a preliminary model based on the hypothesis. And in this model, we have used the coefficients beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, and beta 4 to quantify the relationship between the variables. And these coefficients will help us understand the specific contribution of each factor to the change in the employment rate. And finally, we introduced an error term that is mu to account for other factors that cannot be captured in this model. So this will help improve the predictive accuracy of our model.
This chapter is about analysis and calculations, shows the data analysis results, uses the collected data and analyzes the impact of Malaysia's tourism industry on the local employment rate. The first is descriptive statistics. According to table, the mean value of employment to population rate is 62.65. The mean value of international tourism receipts is 8.39%, and the mean value of international tourism expenditures is 5.78% on board. Meanwhile, the number of international tourism number of arrival peaked at 27,437,000. On average, mean value of leverage in 2.92%, amount of foreign direct investment net inflows. Next is a correlation analysis. In the table, all data are positively correlated. When the number of tourists increases, the income from the tourism industry will increase and the number of employees will increase. Similarly, larger foreign direct investment are the significant factors when the number of tourists is higher. The third part is a relationship between tourism trends and various data. According to the above two figures, with the deployment of Malaysia's tourism industry, the employment rate is increasing positively, and GDP is also positively related to the employment rate. Next is multiple regression analysis. In this multiple regression equation, the significance of each data is bigger than 0.001, indicating that this regression equation doesn't hold. So we need to modify the equation, and we get a new equation by correcting it. Among them, R squared is 0.95, indicating that the model has a high degree of fit. Then carry out the t-test. Through the independent simple t-test, we found the absolute value of t is greater than t critical value, indicating that the growth of tourism income has a significant impact on the employment rate.
I'm Hei Xintian. I'm going to describe the conclusion part in this study. In this article, we're trying to understand the tourism industry on the employment rate in Malaysia. And by doing this, we select 4 independent variables, which is tourism receipt, tourism expenditure, tourism arrives, foreign direct investments, and there are 4 research objectives in this article. First one is to investigate the relationship between tourism receipt and the employment rates in Malaysia. Second one is to evaluate the relationship between tourist expenditure and the employment rates in Malaysia. Third one is to examine the relationship between tourism arrives and the employment rates. The last one is to examine the relationship between foreign direct investments and the employment rate in Malaysia. The study relieves 4 independent variables: tourism receipt, tourism expenditure, tourist arrive, foreign direct investment, all present positive insignificance to employment rates in Malaysia. However, the new 2 independent variables of total tourism revenue and GDP can prove that Malaysia tourism plays an important role in increasing employment rates. Lastly, there are 4 policy suggestions from this study. First one, to increase the type of duty-free product. Second is to improve tourism infrastructure. Third is to activate marketing and brand building. Last one is to differentiate products. That's all from us. Thank you.